Hey, a little connection challenge here. I think everybody's online now. What's going on? I hope you're doing awesome. Listen, I thought I'd share a little story, and it's going to be appropriate because I'm on my bike right now. I'm trying to get a little sunshine, a little vitamin D, keeping my distance from everybody. I hope you're doing well, by the way. I know it's only Wednesday. Maybe it feels like forever if you've been stuck inside, or maybe you're just not in your normal routine. And I'll tell you what. I want to share with you a story right now about a routine that I was getting in, but it was the wrong routine. In fact, it was one of my biggest fitness fails. So I hope you're ready to hear a really, you'd think, oh no, the coach has got it together. He knows exactly what he needs to do for fitness and to stay in shape and all that good stuff. And I don't know if you can see me, the sun's kind of bright out right now, but I am getting a good source of some vitamin D. But I want to share with you now really one of my biggest fitness fails. I think just for fun. If you're kind of stuck, if you're tired of watching the news, maybe you've already watched your fill for the day, or you're just getting more aggravated, more stressed out. Trust me, I know. I know there's a lot of people that way. I just try to limit myself to learning what I need to know and then moving on and having my day. And then kind of on a side note, I've been too busy, to be honest with you, too busy in a sense, just getting things prepared, just as I normally would do, although things are not normal right now. So I'm not sure, maybe you're feeling me right now, especially if you got kids at home. Why do you think I'm on a bike right now? I got my kids at home, my wife's at home, they're all doing work. They were doing work and schoolwork out of the normalcy, if you will. And now from somebody that works from home, I just got done actually with a 2-hour coaching call with my coach, by the way, Vince Delmonte, totally awesome coach. Man, I'll tell you what, and I didn't hire a fitness coach. I hired a business coach about a year ago, and I've worked with coaches over my entire life and honestly feel like I have the best one right now. And one of the reassurances is that while we can fill our mind with all the challenges and the struggles that are going on and maybe the difficulties having families at home and trying not to eat out everything that you have supplies for 4 weeks, but it's going to be 2 because you're eating everything. Why do you think I'm on a bike right now? This is intervention. I'm removing myself from the food so that I don't eat all the food, and because I could be at home right now eating, and instead I'm going to get on a bike and go for a ride. But really, I'm going to back to share with you. Hey, thanks for watching when you're coming on here. Appreciate you. Feel free to check out. I'm going to be online a lot. I'm going to be live a lot. I do that anyway for my business, for my coaching clients. In fact, I was on with a client earlier who lives overseas in Afghanistan. He's getting shipped over to Tampa. Kind of crazy. There's lots of stuff going on and lots of stress. But the beautiful thing about communication, the best thing is we do have access to communicate with each other. So even if we can't physically be in touch face to face, we can certainly continue to build some social connections. And that's what I hope with this story I want to share with you now. What happened in my biggest fitness mistake, one of my biggest fitness mistakes. I say there was many because I've been in fitness for a long time. The biggest mistake, most painful mistake as well, I'll tell you, was when I was in New York City, when I lived in New York City. And my wife, we were dating at the time, and we got, I don't know, somebody roped us in to start doing triathlons. And anyway, I'm going to kind of fast forward the story because the big part, the failure was the biggest moment. Probably one of the biggest fitness moments of my life was really one of the biggest failures. But anyway, so we were into fitness. I taught spinning, kickboxing, all that. We're pretty fit. My wife's fit. We'd work out, run. We didn't know how to swim, so we decided to start swimming. We started doing triathlons. And that turned into us starting to compete. Little ones like the sprint triathlons, things like that. So, in your 20s, you can pretty much get away with it. You can, train a little bit and swim a little bit, run a little bit, bike a little bit, and make do. And we weren't like competing hardcore, but we were competing. So then it started like, hey, let's try a bigger one. So we tried an Olympic one. Oh, and I have another side story, but I'm not going to tell you that because it was actually really funny. My wife's first really ocean swim, I told her this isn't the fail either. This is just a side note. The water temperature was like 40 degrees or something crazy, 45 degrees. And it was a really short swim. And I told her, hey, nobody's going to be wearing wetsuits. It takes too much time to put it on and off. And I said, just you're gonna jump in and swim really quick and get out. I said, nobody else is gonna be wearing wetsuits. And she was in a group with her age group with women, and every single other woman in this triathlon had a wetsuit on except her. But check this out, she crushed everybody. She blew everybody out of the water because she was so flipping cold. So she swam faster than everybody, and that actually was awesome. But that's not the fail. The failure was when we were actually training, and it's interesting that I'm on a bike right now, and I decided to do a half Ironman. I got roped into thinking that I would want to do, for whatever reason, the challenge. I don't know, maybe because I thought I was all that, who knows, but to actually start training and competing and doing triathlon. And that, sorry, it got a little cloudy here for a minute. The sun will come out. You can see the clouds are in the back there. Beautiful day, by the way. Everybody's keeping their distance, but getting a little activity. It is kind of nice to see. So this was in St. Croix, but I did my training. Now, I lived in New York City at the time, so hang on to the story because it's a good one. So here I was teaching spinning classes, running in Central Park. Really was the main part of my running. I swam in a pool, Asphalt Green, which is the Upper East Side. I used to swim in that pool. So I did pool swimming, running in like Central Park, cold, everything was cold. It was all winter, cold, cold, cold. And then spinning classes. I didn't really cycle. I had a bike, but I didn't really cycle too much, a little bit. So I was like, I'm training hard, like I'm good. My nutrition was terrible. I was doing nothing regarding that. I wasn't dialed in. I didn't care. I was in my 20s, right? It didn't matter. And middle 20s, I would say. So here we are. We get to St. Croix. The half Ironman, just as kind of a side note, what that is you do a 1.2 mile swim, ocean swim. You do a 56 mile bike, and then you run a half marathon. So if you're a triathlete, you already know this. But for you guys who have never heard of it, you know, an Ironman is, you start out with, I think it's a 2.5 mile swim, 100 mile bike ride, and then you do a marathon. Half Ironman is just half of that. So swim, we get it started for the swim, and we're there. And I think this was the first qualifying event they ever did at St. Croix for an Ironman. So it was actually tough enough to be a qualifier for Ironman. And so I wasn't prepared nutritionally, terrible. Now, I'm the trainer guy, right? Just so you know, I'm like, on the side note, the spinning instructor, young, kind of tough guy. I think I can do whatever I can do. I can eat whatever I want, you know, and get away with it. And I was, until I took this event, until I actually hit the starting line. So off of the swim, salt water in my mouth, so hot, it was terrible. So the 1.2 mile swim was like awful. I was like dehydrated. I sucked in too much water. There's people kicking me in the face. It was nuts. So, but I made it through. I got through there. That wasn't the fail. And then the bike, and I was like, I'm a spinning instructor, no problem. St. Croix, it's like any island. It's not too bad. Like the Virgin Islands, not too bad. Well, I've never been to St. Croix. And I've only been on some of the other islands that were virtually flat for the most part. And then I got to this one, and I'll tell you what, it was hilly all over and windy. It kind of feels like it is right now, a bit windy, actually crazy wind. I want to see if I'm going to turn back up here. So I'm kind of turning around. Mind you, I'm only about 1.5 miles into my bike ride right now, but this was a 56 mile bike ride. So there's this thing called the Beast. You can go look it up in St. Croix. It's called the Beast. And in the triathlon, it's like, I forget percent grade, but it was like this. It was crazy ridiculous. So I was like, all right, I'm doing pretty good here now. I don't know if you can see me. Sorry if you can't. Maybe it's just I can't see you. So it's this crazy hill, and it wasn't even that long. And I got up it like no problem. And I was like, oh, this is like maybe 20 miles in, 15 to 20 miles in, maybe even shorter. So I was like, oh, no problem there. And I get to the top of the hill, and now like I'm doing right now, I'm not pedaling, I'm going down this little hill. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is so much fun. I feel so good. The swim is done. That was my hardest part. I'm like 15, 20 miles in. I'm like, I can do this. I'm on pace to do my time. I forget what it was. I wanted to do it in maybe, I forget how many hours. I was like, awesome, awesome, awesome. And then I get down to like the bottom of this hill, and all of a sudden my hamstrings and the back of my legs completely, literally, like I've never felt this before. They've literally shut off. Let me just turn around here because I can't see. I want to be able to see. There we go. So literally, they completely turned off. Like my hamstrings just decided to lock up. So not only did I have to stop, I literally fell off my bike. It was at the bottom of the hill, but there's like cliffs on the side. Almost fell off a cliff. Fell over to the side. I was clipped in my shoes. So at the same time, you know, I had those like clip-in shoes. All you racers out there, and I had my, you know, my Kestrel Talon bike. It was a great triathlon bike. Fell off my bike, and I literally couldn't move. I was just sitting there, like really, like it was the worst experience of my life ever. The worst ever. And not only that, I couldn't just get back on my bike because I couldn't move my legs. I couldn't bend. Literally, if you've ever had a hamstring cramp before, or you pull, just magnify that times 10, and then it didn't work. So I'm literally for about 15 minutes as guys are going by, like zooming by me, because this is at the bottom of the hill, zooming by me, and I'm sitting on the ground like a little baby, crying and rubbing my legs to try to get them to work. Well, it took about 20 minutes and I was able to get them to work, and then I had to get back on my bike. Well, it's not like they had like support crew. I was out in the middle of the mountains and there's just triathletes and the locals, and no one's gonna like help me back. There wasn't like trucks that were going to come and pick me up. It's not like the Le Mans, they got like a crew, like a pit crew. That wasn't it. I had to get back. I was lost. I was like in a really bad spot, and I was kind of freaking out. So I got back on my bike, and I kind of probably was going maybe half the speed, if that. I still had 20 miles to bike, 20 something miles. And then, so I'm like, oh, this is better, but I was in pain the whole time. And then all I remember is pulling into where you transition and take your bike and put it on the rack, and then you get your shoes, and then you go for the next phase, which was the marathon, which was a half marathon. And so that half marathon was like, oh, okay, it can't be that bad. It can't be something that's going to be that worse than the bike ride. How bad could it be? But my wife saw the look on my face when I came in with a bike, and I was kind of a lot later than she'd expected. And she just looked at me, and she looked so worried for me. And then I said, I hadn't come this far not to do this. So it was either just go through the suffering of the pain and just get through the next part, which was a half a marathon, or give up. And I'll tell you what, I say this because it was one of the worst experiences of a race I've ever done in my life. Worst fitness experience I've ever done. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't properly keep my body in the nutrition it needed to. I didn't train properly. I really was crappy. It was literally like the crappiest way to train. It was just stupid. When I look back on it now, it was stupid. And I still had a half marathon to go. So I put the bike in, put my shoes on, started to walk. I'm like, all right, I got this. And then about maybe 3 or 4 miles in this half marathon, and the next thing that happened was we turn into a golf course. I'm like, what the F? So we turn into a golf course, and it's up and down hills, like on a golf course. They're having us run. And all I remember was like, my legs felt like, you know, when you go get like meat from like a, if you go to like a barbecue place and you're expecting the meat to like fall off the bones, like a rib to like, or chicken wings to just like really good pork will like fall off the bone and just melt in your mouth and be that good. Well, that's not what my legs felt like, but it looked like that because I felt like my legs were literally falling. The muscles were literally peeling off of my body. It was terrible. The only thing that saved me, I'll never forget, it was the first time I ever had this on a race, was they had these stations. And I didn't do goo. I was scared of that stuff. I didn't train with it. I was like, oh, I'm smart. I'm not going to do that. But they had flat soda. They had like Coke. I think it was just Coke or whatever. And they had it flat. And that was like with the sugar. And honestly, I think I drank probably a 2-liter bottle of soda in all the stations just to get enough sugar to get the energy. But by that time, I literally crossed the finish line. And it was probably, I think, a good 2 hours past what I was expecting to do for my time, but I finished it. So why it was the worst, let me just turn this around. Why it was the worst, like one of the worst moments, sorry if it's a little dark there, but I'm turning around, I'm getting now about 3 miles in or so. Why it was one of the worst moments in my fitness, it was the worst pain I've ever felt, ever. Honestly, it was the most excruciating pain I've ever felt before. And honestly, I did it to myself. I didn't train properly. I didn't, honestly, if I was looking as a trainer, like if I was a client of mine back then, I was like, who's this goon? I'm never going to train with him. He doesn't know what he's doing. He got hurt and he didn't do this right and that right. And I just didn't properly train. So that's pretty much the story. I did get through with it. I did finish it. But the biggest point to my story is that I didn't give up. And I want you now, if you're feeling like giving up on yourself, let me turn this around here. Again, it's still pretty dark. If you feel like giving up right now, if you feel like maybe, I'm not even talking about your health, just on the current situation, you're going to have a story to tell. Now, it might not be the triathlon story like I just told you, but I'm sure you had like a moment in your life that was really kind of crappy, and a time where maybe you weren't prepared, It always happens every year. People, when we have hurricanes that come through here, we're at the beaches where I live, and a lot of times people, end up not being prepared. Sometimes I think people almost over-prepared and get too freaked out. What I would say is, if you don't feel too prepared, you're going to have a story that you can actually get through it, and you can not give up, and you can actually start making the efforts of what you need to do, to the steps that you need, so that you can get through whatever kind of storm, whatever kind of thing that's coming in your life. For me, I hope this story, maybe you laugh about it, because it was like, I can feel, and I'll say I think I stopped triathlons altogether. I think that was actually my last. Maybe I did one more triathlon, but I was done after that. But what I did learn out of that time, one of the worst fitness moments, is that you gotta be prepared. So whether it's talking about your health, your fitness, your life, your family, it really helps to be prepared in circumstances. So I don't know where you're at with your health. I don't know where you're at right now in the world. I don't know if you're confined to your room. I don't know if you've struggled like I've shared with you, maybe in a fitness pursuit. Maybe you got a doctor right now that's telling you better shape up your health, or you're going to have some serious issues, that sort of stuff. And maybe you're not prepared right now. So I can just encourage you that it helps to be prepared. In fact, you don't want to be in the situation, like I was in, so to speak, with my triathlon that I was really like looking forward to, and it was the worst moment of my life. Last thing I want for you is to go through and have a really terrible moment like that, or maybe even worse. That's something where the doctor is telling you, that you got to go on all this medicine, or you're at high risk right now. So do this for me. Take an inventory, see where you're at, see what's going on with your life, with your health. See maybe if you're, training for a triathlon, are you doing it the right way? Are you taking really care of yourself, and are you actually preparing? Because you never know like what's going to come. And again, for what it's worth, if you just enjoyed the story for the story and it helped distract you from watching the news, then my goal was accomplished. If just one of you finds value in this, all I ask is that you share it with somebody. Maybe you know a triathlete who'd like to hear a goofy story of some goon trainer guy. Oh, it's windy, sorry, it's really windy. Some goon trainer who didn't know what he was doing and did train. I'll tell you what, I've been dialing my nutrition ever since. And it's one thing that while I know I still have a ways to go, oh, I got dark again. I know there's a ways to go, and I know that I can always improve. You can too. So whether you're just starting out on that road, or maybe you need to refine where you're at, what you're doing, and maybe in the season of life that you're in. So I hope this helped. Again, I'm about 4 miles in now. And if, like I said, if it helped distract you from watching all the stuff on the TV, and it gave you a little bit of maybe inspiration, or maybe just a good laugh, I hope it did. Take care. God bless. We'll talk to you later.